The 2020 election was fraught with problems, with many questioning the integrity of the vote in certain places.
We're going to do exactly what we'd be doing if he had conceded and said we've won, which we have.
And you don't concede when there's theft involved.
Part of what made election 2020 so different was dealing with the COVID pandemic.
We have learned that there was a coordinated effort to change the way we vote, in the middle of the game, change the rules for voting in the middle of the game. And a lot of the way that was done was actually through the COVID crisis.
No matter where one stands on the 2020 election, one thing is clear: voter integrity is paramount. Moving forward, we must get this right.
The crux of the issue really comes down to do Americans and do voters have confidence that we as citizens and as voters have a voice, a meaningful voice in our government. So we need to have confidence that all of our voices are heard. Otherwise, we start moving more closely towards almost banana republic status.
You need to not have rules of voting that make it impossible to detect fraud. This is why people care so much about how the rules are set going in.
In the last few months, some states, such as Georgia and Texas, have even passed voter laws to try and prevent cheating. Georgia's law was accused of being racist.
The new Georgia election law?
It's an atrocity.
The fact that we are calling, or that some are calling Georgia's new rules for voting is Jim Crow on steroids, that's just propaganda, and that's just media hyperbole and just trying to get people stirred up in their emotions. The fact that we're just asking for basic information, we're not asking you to count jelly beans in a jar, we're just asking you to get a photo ID. You can do that. You really can.
As we consider future elections, what are some of the key ways to try and ensure that they are fair? Consider such steps one at a time. First is the implementation of voter ID laws to ensure that the voter is indeed who he or she claims to be.
Voter ID laws are critical. I mean, it's interesting that we're going through this process around COVID that more and more people are starting to call for various kinds of identification, whether you've been vaccinated. So apparently it's important for us to have identification in papers for kind of basic, other basic functions, but there shouldn't be. In some people's opinion, apparently it's restrictive or constrictive to have any kind of basic identification requirements for casting a vote.
Those laws have been in place now for more than a decade. We have years worth of turnout data in states with voter ID laws. That data clearly shows it does not suppress votes, does not keep people out of the polls. It certainly does not keep minority voters out of the polls.
If it was difficult to get a voter ID, you can say it was a restraint to participation. Well, it's not difficult. And you just think, whether it's taking out a library book, getting on an airplane, buying certain, adult beverages. You have to show an ID.
And yet, all over the country, voter ID laws are under attack.
Another major step to ensure voter integrity is to make sure that non-citizens are not casting illegal ballots.
The left has proven that it believes in voters without borders. Not only do they believe in a nation without borders and the obligation to protect its borders, they believe in voters without borders. And so they are into vote harvesting, they're into loosening the rules.
Unfortunately, there are non-citizens who are registering and voting in many areas of the country. It's very easy for them to do it. Election officials don't do anything to certify or check on the citizenship of people registering to vote, and that is a real problem.
Another important step to ensure voter integrity is to ban so-called ballot harvesting.
Ballot harvesting is one of the latest techniques that the left is using to, I believe, steal elections. Ballot harvesting is legal in some jurisdictions, and it means you can go out and collect ballots from people you're not related to. Usually you cannot vote, you cannot turn in a ballot for someone you're not related to, and that's to prevent vote fraud.
What the left has been doing, the progressive left, is they've been urging that polling places be closed and that we switch to all mail elections, which is a very bad idea. We can safely hold our elections with in-person voting. Election officials certainly can do that if they follow the very same safety protocols that all of the grocery stores and pharmacies and retail establishments are using, where we're going every day. And mail-in voting is a very bad idea. It is vulnerable to all kinds of potential problems.
Interestingly, Christians could change virtually every election if they showed up and voted their biblical values.
The only way that you know that your vote won't count is to not cast it.
Your goal at the Faith and Freedom Coalition is to do what when it comes to mobilizing the Christian and conservative voters?
Well, for Faith and Freedom Coalition, our goal is to make sure that every Christian voter knows that there is an election, knows where the candidates fall, and feels mobilized or energized to participate in that election. So we believe that we help to give the voice to Christian conservative values and Christian conservative people across the country.
And how big is the voting block of the faith voters?
The faith vote remains the single largest demographic in American politics. It's larger than the union vote, it's larger than the minority vote, and larger than the gay vote, all totaled together. Our real focus is to make sure that it's easy to vote, but it's hard to cheat. And so the way that we really structure legislative policy in each of these states that we're trying to weigh in on is really centered around that drive and that mission.